the fact that you guys do your elections in the amount of time that you do, God bless. I think that would take care of so many problems in this country in terms of a never-ending campaign and election cycle that constantly provokes and pushes people's emotions. What did it take? 8 weeks for you guys?
6 weeks.
6 weeks.
So here's the issue as well.
God.
So I've got friends who, of course, are American politicians. As soon as they've won the election, the next day they start fundraising for the next one, right?
Crazy.
So, and that leads to short-termism, but also, frankly speaking, you're obsessed by raising funds, right? Rather than delivering your manifesto. How can you make a long-term 10-year plan or 8-year plan if your obsession is raising funds for the next campaign? But also, you know this better than I do. If you're always, obsessed by poetry in a campaign, where's the pros of making the tough decisions in relation to fixing the foundations, making the plans?
And we'll spend, billions and billions of dollars. I think I read somewhere that the entire election for Labor was under $100 million.
Oh, no, you'll love this even more. So during that 6-week campaign I mentioned, the 6-week short campaign, each party maximum for the 6 weeks can only spend £35 million, right?
And for those of you who are listening at home, a pound is equal to, I think, a nickel. Is that correct?
It's about $1.
Right, it's about $1. So 30, and it's 6 weeks, and it's $35 million.
That's it.
And then you've got 5 years. You won't necessarily have 5 years, but you've got 5 years to govern, to actually govern.
And that's the rhythm of our cycle. So that rhythm is really important because at the beginning of this interview, you mentioned a tough decision made by the Prime Minister.
Right.
He will have worked out, I've not spoken to him about this, he will have worked out the rhythm is make the tough decision now, and the fruits will come in before the 5 years are up. Now, if he was obsessed by the next election, you'd be thinking, oh my God, I can't do this because I may not be able to raise money for my election. Oh my God, the donors may not like it and so forth, which doesn't lead to good long-term governance. It's not conducive to making long-term plans for the best interests of the country. And I think it's really important because, listen, you know the Churchill saying as well as I do. I think Churchill once said that, democracy is an awful thing, but it's the best we've got.
That's right.
So I'm not suggesting, that
they say the same about capitalism as well.
Similar. The point being is that, look, it's not great, but actually we've got to try and make it work, because I think the problem is if you're always obsessed by the election, what about the governing?
Mm-hmm. And it really does open the door to these kinds of less stable movements. Look, it really does seem like, and we go back to kind of that post-World War II order. There is a movement afoot to replace what has been sort of the stable, what they call rules-based order. And by the way, not perfect, and oftentimes exploitative of resources from underdeveloped areas. And I don't think anybody's been able to fix that. But it really does look like at this point, it's going to come down to what are the new axes of power. If Trump wins, I imagine the axis of power goes through Russia, Hungary, and the populist movement. Whereas I think if not, it stays within kind of that. It's who's going to carve up the world? Is it going to be China and Russia, or is it going to be the US and Europe? Unfortunately, that seems to be where we're headed.
So there's a great saying that's an American saying from an American Democrat politician that I think it's really important that we remember this. All politics is local, right? So most people in America on November the 5th will be voting in relation to what's best for me and my family, and I understand that. But your elections in November are so much more important than that. The geopolitics of who is the president of the USA, you set the weather. You can either send out ripples of hope or you send out ripples of fear. You mentioned the axis.
Guess which one we're leaning.
Well, but it really matters. Look,
I know.
So if you're somebody in another part of the globe, and you see that the president of the USA, doesn't follow the rules, treats the women a certain way, treats people of color a certain way, has certain views about the second biggest religion in the world, has certain view in relation to NATO.
Destabilizing. It's very much
what impact does it have on the rest of the globe, right? And so it's really important. And so, it does matter. And so, of course, I appreciate, your listeners and those in the USA will be making decisions based on all policy is local, but understand the consequence of this position.
You're asking us to think about other people, to think about somebody other than ourselves.
Look, in a parallel universe, what would Ukraine have done without the support of the USA, right? In a parallel universe, where would nature be right now? And so it's really important to understand that actually all of us around the globe are watching with so much keen interest what happens on November the 5th.
Well, we hope to have an answer for you by November the 6th, but chances of that are not.
The question is, John, will everyone accept the result?
Oh, God, don't even. All right.